I'm just going to show you how I prepare a meal plan for my dogs. That's Bruno, the black lab, and Mars, the yellow lab. So the BARF diet that we are following is by Dr. Billinghurst. So if you could find that book, Give Your Dog a Bone, that would really help you to have a starting point. The base of their food is mainly leg quarters. Sometimes they would have one, sometimes they would have two. It just depends on their activity level. That would be about a pound to a pound and a half, up to 2 pounds of food each and every day, and they only eat once a day. Mars, being a puppy, would get fed a little bit more. Sometimes she would get fed twice a day or 3 times a day. It really just depends on her activity level. If we feel like she's still hungry, then we would feed her more. Again, you have to watch their weight because these dogs are prone to hip dysplasia and you don't want them to be that heavy. Bruno is a heavy set and he's about 90 pounds now. We're trying to bring him down to about 80 pounds. So he's still a work in progress in that case. But Mars is growing. She's about 40 pounds right now. I think she grew a little bit more since we last weighed her. So in any case, leg quarters would be the base, and this is about 60-70% of what they're gonna eat for that day. And then you would go over here where you have organs. So we have beef kidneys, beef sweetbreads, and pork brains if you could find it. These are hard to find, so you probably have to go at a specialty store to find that, and it's a little bit expensive. And then we have the beef heart, and we have a few more over there, but they're all the same thing. Now Mars hadn't had a turkey neck yet, so I would like to introduce her to the turkeys, and this is pretty much the 95 or 90% of the meal that they would eat. On top of that, we would have a little bit more greens, vegetables and fruits if you could find them cheap, like we have here. We have kale, we have spinach, we have green beans, carrots. We have apples here at 50% off. If they're overripe like this, grab it because dogs love overripe fruits. And then again, organic celery. It doesn't have to be organic, but if you could find organic much cheaper than the regular vegetable, then go ahead and grab it. This happened to be much cheaper. It's like $1.49 compared to like $2 for like the regular one. I'm not sure how that happened, but in any case, after that, you kind of add low-fat yogurt and low-fat cottage cheese. You could switch with other cheeses. This is just what we have here. Now these are like this is like $2 and this is like about $4 or $5. So just shop around. If you could find it on sale on clearance, go ahead and grab it. Especially like this one, it's 25% off. That's still something. And all of these you see is probably about $75 to $80, and I think it would last them about 1 month and 1 week. So that's probably roughly around $1.20, $1.30 each and every day for each dog. So you're looking at about roughly $2.50 for these dogs to be fed. And then again, this is not an exact science. So the following month, it would get switched out to different food. They could get like chicken instead of having beef hearts, they would have chicken hearts and all that, gizzards, or they would have a full chicken. If we could find a rabbit, then they would get fed a rabbit. If we could find a hog head, then they would get a hog head and stuff like that. And again, this is the meal plan for them, and I'm gonna go ahead and start preparing the meal. This is how it would normally look like. So you have about 400 grams, 3/4 of a pound of meat. Again, it varies. Some days they would have only about 300 grams. So it just varies, and this kind of mimics the real world. That way we don't overfeed them. Especially with Bruno, for example, he's at 90 pounds right now. and he cannot gain any more weight. So you really just have to watch the weight of your dog. If they are losing weight, then you need to feed them more. If that's not what you're intending to do, if they're gaining weight, then you feed them less. So for now, this is how it works. Again, if this little baby here is still hungry, then she would just get fed a little bit more just because she's a puppy. And then after this, we would begin with adding the organs. That way we could proportion it much better. So here's an example of a beef kidney, and you would weigh it. This is about a pound, and then I would try to divide that into 100 grams, more or less, and then distribute it over a course of a meal. Then I would use another organ and then distribute it another day. That way they're alternating and they don't get fed all at once. So it would look something like this. You have alternating organs each and every day. That way they get fed different organs every other day. And you pretty much do the same with beef heart. It's about 3/4 of a pound. Then you divide it about 100 to 150 grams. Some days they get less, some days they get more. As you can see, these are not really proportioned at 100 grams. Some days they get more, some days it's just less. And the goal is to have a balanced diet over a period of several days. Now we have the beef heart in there. It goes once every other day. Then we will have the sweet breads, or what they call the beef pancreas, and then that would get added here as well. Again, this is not the actual schedule. This would get randomized as we get more and more prepped, and before we put them in the freezer, we would just put them in random. That way they get a random food each and every day, and they don't get to expect what food is coming. So we've added the pancreas, the sweet breads, and then again this would get randomized after we're finished. The next thing we're gonna add is the chicken liver with the same proportions. As you can see, you never know what they're gonna get. Sometimes they would get a small piece of chicken, sometimes they would get a really large one. So whenever we feed them, they just have to make sure that they finish their plate, because they really never know what's gonna happen the following day. And that's good because they're not gonna be a picky eater. So if you have a picky eater, it means they're getting fed too much too soon. So sometimes with these dogs, especially if they're not that active, you have to cut down on the meals, because if not, they're gonna gain weight, and when they gain weight, they're gonna start picking what they want to eat. We've added the chicken liver. Again, all these would get randomized so they don't get chicken livers all the time. We still have chicken blood here. It would get added on areas where there's not enough meat. So over here you don't have enough meat. The first thing that I would do before adding the blood is to put in some chicken necks or turkey necks right there. That way there would be enough meaty bones. And we would still try to find other areas where we could do some improvements, like over here, it doesn't have enough meaty bones, as well as on this side. So we would just keep on adding it. Again, we would be aware of our proportions. For example, we would try to weigh it. This is about 3/4 of a pound, and then we would try to weigh this, and it's a little less than 3/4 of a pound. So you want to get to about a pound or more. We would still add more and more things here. So you're looking at about maybe a pound to like a pound and a half for each and every meal, once everything has been said and done. Okay, so it would look like this. Again, you add organs and meat as needed. If they're too low or if they're too little, So there would still be some days where there would only be one chicken, but it's few and far in between. Like, as you can see, generally speaking, you're looking at about a pound to a pound and a half. So this meal over here is roughly about 3/4 of a pound, and this is for fasting days when they would generally fast once a week, and it's a good stress for them. And these are days where they would be feasting. Again, this is about a pound and a half. Sometimes it's a little over, sometimes it's a little under. And the same over here. Roughly about 2 pounds. So there would be days where there's a lot of food, and there are some days where there's not a lot of food. So this is what it's going to look like, and this is about 70 meals, more or less, about 70 to 75 meals. I have yet to count them. And now we're going to do the vegetables and fruits. So you chop up the kale and you put it in here, and then you blend it. Okay, so you put your kale. It's gonna look like that. Looks really good. Then you put in the celery and the carrots, and so on and so forth. And there's the celery. It's gonna get crushed. Looks good. So we went ahead and put everything else. We have the carrots, green beans, and the spinach. We chopped them up, and we're gonna blend them. Now, yeah, this typically happens when it's already pretty full, so you just have to work your way around it. And then afterwards we're gonna put in yogurt and cheese. That would keep them together. Yep. Then we're gonna put in the yogurt and the cheese. So again, you don't need a lot. 1 full teaspoon could be more than enough. And then we're gonna mix it. So here's for the cheese. Alright, it's good enough. And then we will try to mix it now. So I know it may look like a lot of work, but you only have to do this once a month. That's the reason why you stockpile on it. So if you think it's already good, then that should be fine. But I'm looking at this, and I don't think it hurts to have another round of cheese here. So I'm just gonna put in another teaspoon of cheese and another teaspoon of yogurt. So again, we're just trying to imitate the gut flora, because I might have put in a little bit too much vegetables. So just gonna work with it. Yeah, that should be fine. And we're just gonna try to mix it manually with the spoon. Yeah, that's good. Once you smell the goat cheese and the cottage cheese and the yogurt, that's a time when it's already good to go. So just trying to get the most out of it. So we're gonna put in about about 1 or 2 teaspoonful of this. Again, you don't put the olive oil now. You put the olive oil later, before you actually feed the meal. The reason for that is because when you freeze this, then the olive oil gets stuck on the plate. So what happens is it's a waste. You're pretty much wasting, I don't know, some part of that olive oil. So that's the reason why you don't put the olive oil right now. You put in later on. Again, if we have overage, if there's too much, then we just add it on areas that needs it. Say for example, this area where you only have one meat, then you overcompensate it with more vegetables. Then in other areas where you have a lot of meat, you don't want to overcompensate it with vegetables, so you kind of like balance it out over time. That's the reason why they're healthy, because they get a really balanced diet and spread out over so many days. Say for example on this side, we need to put a little bit more here, just because there's not enough meat. That way they would still have energy. So I put about 3 teaspoons there. And again, vegetables are so cheap. It's very cheap. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't have vegetables on their diet, at least some part of their diet. So I'm doing the second batch right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and add this. This came from the last prep meal that I did for them. This had a bunch of different stuffs, different vegetables like tomatoes, and different fruits like, I think you would see it there, blueberries. So it's a different batch, and I'm just gonna mix it with this one that I have. That way it's a little bit different, and at the same time so you get used up. So this is the meal prep for the following month. This is about 65 meals. So again, at random, I'm missing the lid on this one. I still have to find it. So for example, I have here chicken quarters with fruits and veggies. Got beef liver, blood, and then sometimes I would have the beef pancreas. Again, chicken as a base. Sometimes I would have 2 chickens, and this is the heart, a beef heart. Sometimes I would have the pancreas, and this one is a turkey neck with chicken quarters, and again some veggies. Like this one doesn't even have veggies, so it's really at random, and they get fed once a day, roughly about a pound to up to 2 pounds of meal. There would be days that they would go on like really short meals like this, and but then there would be days where they would have like really huge meals. So like this, it's gonna be a really huge one. This is about probably 2 pounds. And then we do not add olive oil right away. We add olive oil later on, simply because when you freeze it, the olive oil gets stuck and it's hard to remove. So you have to watch their weight. This is about 2 pounds of meat. You have chicken quarters there, beef heart, and turkey neck, and probably pancreas, and some veggies, and blood. That's blood. And as you can see, each and every day is a different day for them, so they don't know what to expect. So this is just pancreas and quarters, and I think this is a piece, yeah, piece of quarter of chicken quarter and veggies. I just want to show you how it's done. So the veggies are mixed with yogurt and cottage cheese. Some of it are mixed with apples, some are not. And then again, there would be times that I would throw in some Gerber. These are like 34 cents per pack. They're so cheap, and they're for babies. So sometimes I would throw in a pair. You know, I would give them half of this, maybe half for Mars and half for Bruno. Sometimes I would give them this. Sometimes I would give them the peach. So it really just depends. And then definitely I would throw in the olive oil. They love it, and it's good for them. Then sometimes I would put in apple cider vinegar, just a little bit. I would shake it first and then put maybe a cup or two in their meal. That's good for them. Sometimes I would put in Quaker oats. I would cook this first for like 2 minutes in the microwave, and then throw it in. You know, I'll probably put about half a cup, and then I would put in some honey. You know, they're saying not to give unfiltered raw honey, but I've never had any issues with this. Again, this is like, you know, the third or fourth honey that we've had, and we've been using it for the past 3 years now, so I've never had any issues. And then of course, sometimes I would throw in this. I would crush the eggshell first, or sometimes I would put egg yolk in the meal, and you know, it just adds calcium and other vitamins that, you know, that they need. So it's all about varieties. As many varieties as you could get, the better. And then sometimes I would throw in this, just a little bit, a tiny bit of this. It's mixed fruit. Again, it's 52 cents. You see that? It's really cheap. Really, really cheap. So I put it, you know, I pour maybe like a couple of cups of this. Like when I say cup, like this cap, that cap, okay? Not a cup, okay? So it's a cap, like this cap over here. I would probably throw in a couple of those. So these are all random things that I would add. if we have any leftover food, then we would definitely throw that in as well. So they definitely get fed probably about between 2 to 3 pounds, and not really 1 to 1.5. So they get fed more or less just depending on the activity level that they've had for the day and for the week. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know by the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe.